Episode 66, Jabber Jawn, the internet sensation being compared favorably to a number of mid-1980s episodes of Murder, She Wrote. Our esteemed colleague Steve Moore actually appeared in 2 of the Murder, She Wrote episodes. First as a young handyman with a penchant for lifting loose jewelry, which led to his being placed in a juvenile detention home. Many years later Steve made roll call again and returned to Murder, She Wrote as a struggling artist with a penchant for loose jewelry. Obviously the ideas were running thin there at Murder, She Wrote. But anyway, the comparisons between Jabber Jawn and Murder, She Wrote do ring true, as at the end of each show, you should be able to identify who the bad guy is and also should have chosen a wardrobe piece to search online for. The brooch I'll be wearing tonight I inherited from my grandmother. Nathan's denim trousers came from an actor who appeared in 2 episodes of Murder, She Wrote, and Mr. Moore's lavender shawl was lifted from the back of Angela Lansbury's chair while she was performing an integral scene in an episode about a young politician with a penchant for loose jewelry. Enjoy yourself tonight and get ready for Friday when the lights get turned up a bit and you get to sing along with your man in the middle, Nathan J.J. Moore. If you've already worn my shirt, I expect it to be soft and worn and comfy. Like something you'd have seen on Murder, She Wrote back in the day. Watch the show tonight and see if it doesn't take you back to that golden era of television entertainment. Terry Dodson will be watching. Pressure is on.
Frog sitting on a log, one of them fell in. One frog said to the other frog, well, you better go get her. 2 little frogs sitting on a log, one of them fell in. Last little frog, he sat and thought, good thing they can swim. Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn. 3 little frogs sitting on a log, one burst into a grin. One frog said to the other frog, wonder what's got into him. 2 little frogs sitting on a log, one laughed until he is red. Last little frog, he sat and thought, must have been something I said. Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn.
I still can't believe that.
Oh, we're on. We're live. Hello, everybody. We don't have a applause. We're missing our producer today. Lex has a very big week of his, not only his daughter turning 18, but graduating from high school, getting ready to fly the nest. So they're readying a whole celebration for Lucy this weekend. So we're on our own here, folks. You guys are our eyes and ears out there. Let us know. Kyle's in charge of the chat. He'll be keeping an eye on your comments. I got the buttons over here, so wish us luck. Let us make sure if you can't hear us to let us know if any of our mics go out or not working. Let's do a little sound check. Nathan Moore reporting for duty. Check, check, check.
Hello.
Steve Moore reporting for duty. Check, check.
Always keeps it to the point. Kyle Hogg reporting for duty.
And we're back at it.
Kyle Hogg reporting. I just took a duty.
He said duty. Got a new shirt. What do you think?
Very nice.
Yeah, it is. Looks like a
Little,
tuck
little
shirt.
little speed stripes here. So,
Where'd you
so
get
you
it?
can't catch me. My wife got it for me.
Uh-huh.
I've been trying to. It
Looks nice.
I had this. I've been streaming every night. I do an hour a night,
Right.
late night. I call it a session, not
Do
a
you
show.
have a set time for that, or is that?
It's usually I don't have a set time, but it tends to fall around midnight-ish. but after Kethra goes to bed. But I don't want to have like a set schedule because I'll start rebelling against it in my spirit if I feel like I have to do it at this time, so I'm going easy on myself. But it's also, and it's, I'm just calling them sessions and not shows, where I just go live for an hour and take requests and just sing my songs and just try to get my mind out of the way. It's almost like what do they call it? A guided meditation podcast or something. But because I light a candle and I'm just taking requests and really, like I think I described last week, but I'm really doing some work that I've needed to do for decades of just quieting my mind and serving the song in a pure way. Because I've always had intrusive thoughts. I guess that anybody that tries to meditate knows all about that. How you just can't. It's so hard to quiet your mind.
Right.
And with music, especially performing, and even just on the live stream, it's the way I said it the other night was like I still have a lot of work to do, but I love the intention behind it. I was like, some of you out there might want to tune in a couple of years and see how I'm progressing with this. But for those of you that have come to watch a tomato grow from seed, welcome to the show. Because it's a slow process. It's really hard, but it's surprisingly hard, because even when I feel like I'm doing it good and I'm like really just singing the song and just giving my voice to the words and all that kind of stuff, inevitably in my mind I'll be like, you're doing it. You're doing it. Like, that's not it. That voice that's being like, you're doing it, is what I'm trying to silence. I'm trying to not have any of it. And there's always a voice in there.
That's so hard.
And it's for good or bad. And then I went to that picking party on Saturday night and tried to bring my practice to the real world and realized, oh my goodness, I mean, there's so much information coming in from like how people are listening to what the other musicians are doing. It's almost impossible at that point to not observe all that stuff. But I guess the practice is not that the thoughts don't come, it's that they don't linger, and that you can just let them pass through like a force, like a wind blowing.
So you want to go from tomato to tomato sauce, where you're just everything's combined together without really thinking about it.
I can't wait.
Man.
I can't wait.
More noodles, because we're getting ready to pour some more Nathan on.
But so these are just sessions, and it's been really fun. And but tomorrow night I'm doing a show, a proper show.
Everybody pay attention.
Prime time hours, 8:30 on the East Coast. I'm going live, and I'm gonna try to do it's scheduled so people know when to tune in. They can. There's a few people that are hosting watch parties out there. A friend of mine's gonna project it on the side of her house and have a campfire outside. And invited a bunch of friends over. So I'm hoping to do this like once a month, where I do a scheduled thing that's well advertised and invite people to.
Well, we were talking about it. I was thinking, I just saw the advertising on the Facebook and everything, and I was thinking that I might host a watch party tomorrow night.
That would be great.
I guess I could get it on the YouTube on my TV.
On your TV. Yep.
So I'll hereby invite anybody that's watching Jabber Jawn to a watch party at my house on Selma Boulevard. If you don't know where it is, then don't come.
That's a good way to put it.
That'd be my advice. You might not take me up on it, but yeah, if you're in the neighborhood and want to stop by, I have water and juices. I don't serve alcohol, and you ought to bring whatever you want to drink.
BYOB.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Mm-hmm. Bring your own banjo.
Yeah, I always put the word bitch in there somewhere. It seems like it ought to be, the word bitch ought to be somewhere in that
Bitch
phrase.
your own beer.
Bitch, it ain't your beer.
I don't know where it goes, but I always thought if you get two B's, you probably are not saying one of them because it's the word bitch or bastard.
I remember when I was in high school, I was driving somewhere with my mom, and I don't know what we were talking about, but BYOB came up. And I said, bring your own beer. My mom just started laughing. I was like, what's so funny? And she just kept laughing. And she goes, I don't think that's what it stands for. I said, yeah,
I don't
it is.
think that's what it
And she
stands
goes, no, it's
for.
bring your own bottle. And I was like,
Oh.
Yeah, I was like, maybe that probably is what it is.
That might be true.
I was like, damn, I'm a high
Well, yeah,
school
it
cool
was
kid getting schooled by my mom. I didn't.
What did that mean something different? Did y'all have that when you were growing up?
Well, not young, but when I was growing up, it was bottle.
Bottle.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's sort of old school.
Yeah.
yeah.
We cheapened it.
I know, we made it times.
Well, you
Bring
made
your
it.
own
You made
Milwaukee's
it.
best.
You made it high schoolish.
Right.
And we were talking about people going to their own
Right.
nightclubs. That environment where
Right.
you're bringing vodka and wine and stuff. So it's differences in economics as much as anything.
Right,
High
right.
school group is talking. You're talking beer when you're talking.
That was the last time I ever rode with my mom. I never forgave her for showing me up about that.
Now I'll just hitch.
That's right.
So that would be fun. I'll be there tomorrow night, and we'll be open for business if you want to bring some friends over. And
All right, that sounds
don't-
good.
I don't have any friends that come out after 8 anymore, but if I do, they can wander in if they want to.
Now, is it all requests again, or do you have something planned?
Well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm already been working on a set list of songs I want to do. So I'll start with those. And I think I'm not even going to look at the chat too much for the first half of the show, for a lot of the reasons that we're talking about now. Because as soon as I start seeing old friends that are watching, then that's going to create all these internal monologues and voices in my head about like, oh, so-and-so's watching. So I want to give people as pure of a thing at the beginning as
Right.
possible, but then interacting with the chat is a big appeal of a live stream. So then the request lines will be open the whole time, and so then at the halfway point, I'll start looking at the requests and end it like that.
I would imagine it'd be hard if you were doing a song and you start reading requests, that those songs start popping. Like, well, yeah, will this one lead into that? Like you get, like you say, you try not to think. It makes you think too much.
It just does. I still, like, one of the things there's so many little new rules that I have for my performances, and one is don't look at the chat while you're singing.
That's a good
Because
idea.
no matter what, their comments are going to get
Oh,
in
yeah.
there. And it's so funny, because now I'm getting to the point where I can listen back to the live streams and hear the moments where I'm thinking about something else. And it's so fascinating how autopilot you can be. Like you can have, and this has been a thing that's haunted me for so long that I made a shtick out of it for a little while. I had this little loop pedal, and I would like create these conversations with myself in the loop pedal, and as a joke, as comedy, just trigger them in the middle of the song. Like you could hear the voices in my head, and it's always been a thing that I've struggled with, almost to the point where they got worse when I was especially performing solo. Like if I'm with a band, there's so much
Right.
cover and things going on, but solo, like it got to the point where it was almost like a form of madness or something. I just stop it. Just stop it. Just like, no matter what, they're just these voices.
Now, what is it like? No, I'm not saying that you ever messed up, but what if you're playing a song and you mess up? Do you automatically just want to stop and go on to something else, or do you just say, "Oh, nobody probably knows"?
Start
just
over.
Keep going, like start over.
There's that terrible thing that happens when you forget the words to a song. And to me, I've never been a smooth operator in covering that up. Like, a lot of professionals will either just repeat something, but they'll never acknowledge that they messed up.
Right.
I always acknowledge that I messed up.
Wow.
And it's one of, Almost always. I guess if it's a very important show, I probably have some professionalism that kicks in, or I just like do a really good version of me acknowledging my mistake. Because there can be a beautiful way to handle that or something. But
I can just see that weighing on me. Like nobody even noticed. Like I'm 5 minutes into this song thinking I messed up in the first minute, and I can't. It just be like.
Dad's pulling out the book. I'm excited.
He's
What's
reading
going
the Bible.
on?
Well, I can't see.
Now he needs more light. I got a little flashlight. You want that?
Yeah, I guess.
Don't be worried, people. Nathan's coming back. All right, I'm checking what y'all are saying on this computer thing. Check, check, check.
Anybody out there yet?
Oh, it's not bring your own bottle. It's not bring your own beer. It's bring your own booze.
Bring your own booze. That makes sense.
Yes, it does. I think just depends on what you grew up with. I had a list of songs from
Looks like
2006.
we're going spelunking or something. He's got to read his thing from a flashlight. Here we are from the old Miller's Cave in Stanton, Virginia. Me and Nathan were going down, just having a good time. We found this old fella down there. He'd been writing in the dark for 20 years.
Here they are. This is from 2007 from my journals. So think about that. This is a list I made in my journal of your top songs. And,
Oh, wow.
ones that I thought you should put on an album. And the reason I'm bringing it up is nothing. Here's 4 of them that you would guess. If I Didn't Love You, Summer of My Fall, Rolling Home, and Chicken and Rice. Now, here's the other thing that I don't remember that you're going to have to tell me about. Pinocchio's Toes.
Pinocchio's Toes.
Is that a song? I can't remember.
That is an
I know it was a
song.
Do you remember the song? Can you do the song?
Sort of.
I want to hear that song.
Well, I don't know if I could do all of it, but I can maybe remind you.
Just what it sounds like. But I liked it. You like it?
I like half of it, which is a funny way I feel about a lot of my old songs.
Wow.
I've got Pinocchio's eyes, I've got Pinocchio's toes. I'm about Pinocchio's size, I wear Pinocchio's clothes. But somewhere I got lucky, I didn't get the nose.
I love it.
So I wear sunglasses and high-heeled boots and a long trench coat. It covers up the suit. I'm a fairy tale freak of nature. I got some trouble with the truth.
Oh, yeah.
This is album material. First
I
cut.
love that line.
Side
oh,
one,
man, you
first
can't
cut.
stop
What, a
now.
fairy tale freak of nature? Which line? The
That
nose?
last line, a fairy tale freak of nature has some trouble with the truth. You're just writing on my tombstone, son. But he did that too.
Oh, man.
Oh, Lord have mercy. I hadn't heard that.
How was Pinocchio? What is that? Is that 1800s or 1900s, you think? When was Pinocchio written?
I have no
Good
idea.
question.
Isn't that
I think the
interesting?
next verse was about Beowulf.
Oh, man. I want to
Beowulf's walk and Beowulf's smile, Beowulf's ambition and Beowulf's style.
No, that's an old one, Beowulf.
Meet me in, and there's a chorus to it. Meet me at the corner where the light can't get. All I need is a passport and a birth certificate.
Yeah, I remember it now. But it was funny when I
Boy, that
read.
song is like 30-some years old now or something.
Isn't that something? When I read that the other night, I said, Pinocchio's toes, I just couldn't get it. But now that you sing it, oh, I love those lines.
That's funny.
That's to me like a buried treasure. I mean, that song is a treasure. Like if I hadn't written that song, I'd be singing it every day to somebody. Hey, stop mowing the grass. Come here. I want you to hear this line.
I've been taking a lot of requests on the sessions, and there's been some old amusement fans that have been watching and asking for songs I have not done in decades.
I'll bet.
And I've entertained most of them.
Now, is Pinocchio's Toes the title of that?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep, you got it right. Terrible name for a song.
Not really.
Well, I guess not.
It's very memorable. But, yeah. When's the last time you did that song?
A few minutes ago. Before that, decades.
Lex, give me a band.
All right, people, we're going to end early tonight. I hope y'all have a good time.
I got to take him out back. And I don't think he's coming back the same.
Were there any more songs on there, or was that the...
That's the only ones I wrote down. No, I didn't. There were some others, but it wasn't like the top 10, but I just made a list of... There were others, but I didn't.
And this
have
is
it
from 2007, you said? Or?
That's when I wrote that down in the journal.
Okay.
It was just like I was thinking about making, if I was going to make a greatest hits or an album, which I still think we should do.
Yeah.
Now, if you were going to do a greatest hits, would you do them all new versions, or you'd go back and get the originals, or you would like Taylor Swift it and do them all over again?
I probably want to redo them. I'm not a fan of my young performances or whatever. It's really funny to me. I mean, the other night someone asked for My Death Comes a Callin', and I tried to sing and I couldn't remember it, and then we listened to the old amusement recording of it, and it's I want to say laughable. It's just so funny to me to hear that young version of myself trying so hard, putting so much ridiculous energy into the songs, singing in a voice that is not my own. Like I'm just trying to be Tom Waits or Bob Dylan or any of my heroes desperately. There's something the reason I don't want to just say laughable is because there's something about it I love too, because I'm just so earnestly ambitious, but it's just too much. I would never. I don't think anybody would enjoy listening to it today, and I marvel at a lot of my young recordings at how much support I got from the world. I was like, why did people support me?
Well, no, because that's probably a thought all performers have. Like Dylan probably listens to his first couple albums, like, God, I sound just like this person. It takes you a while to find your own voice.
It does.
He probably listens to best of hits, like, oh my God, why did they put this stuff on there?
But then as a fan, those first two Dylan records are unbelievable.
Oh yeah, they're to us because we didn't know he was.
Whereas I'm not sure I would fall in the same category. I don't know, like a lot of people hear me talk about that stuff and think that I'm like down on myself, or I don't. There's so many different trajectories that an artist can take, and some people are born with this God-given talent, and for them, they don't even know whether to do it or not or whatever. For me, like I didn't have God-given talent. I just had a dream and ambition to do it. I just wanted to write songs and be a songwriter, and that's just what I wanted to do. And I'm so proud of myself that I never gave up, because I started writing songs when I was like 14, and probably like, as far as songs I would be proud to sing to anybody now, those started coming around 25. So that's 11 years of just slamming my head into the wall.
You were so young. I mean, who writes good stuff at 14 that they're still wanting to perform?
Yeah, well, like that genius. Mozart was 7 years old playing for kings, and you always have that as an artist in your mind about like what is talent, what is genius, like can you aspire to genius, or does it have to be God-given? Genius is such a fascinating thing, how that happens to some people.
Right.
Some of my friends were like, had this, they just picked up a guitar and for some reason they could play the dang thing. Right. And like that's sort of how they found their calling. A lot of times they discovered they had a talent and they're like, oh, I guess this is what I'll do. And that wasn't the case for me. But the thing that happens then after spending 11 years, and then like around 25, I wrote a song, and I can't remember what that one would have been, but I remember being like, oh my goodness, I think I just like broke through to the other side. This is starting to get legit. But then there comes this thing. You ever heard of imposter syndrome? It's like
when you're kidnapped.
What is that? That is
I forget what it's called.
Yeah. What is what he's talking about? Where you're kidnapped and you start sympathizing.
You start thinking that they're your friends. They're taking care of you.
But Kessler will chime in with the answer to that one.
Kessler said, "I was kidnapped when I was young." Oh, people are saying all artists have some insecurity.
Well, but that's the thing. There's a thing called imposter syndrome, and it's like clinically diagnosed because some people have it really bad, and it can happen. It doesn't have to just be in arts. It's this feeling like you're a fraud in what you do, and and it can get overwhelming to where you are afraid at any moment you're going to be discovered for the fraud that you are. And it could be.
I have that.
It could be at work. It could be anywhere. But artists famously have it really bad. But for somebody that feels like they didn't have this natural talent that worked for 11 years, it's so hard to know whether you actually figured it out or if you've learned how to fool people.
But you didn't think that about yourself from 14 until 25, did you? That's looking back
No,
on
that's
it
the
now.
funny part.
Right. So you were
back when I thought I was,
Well, that's the important thing. That's what got you through it.
Mm-hmm.
If you had thought you sucked at the beginning, you would have just, sold shoes for a living or something. So it's your confidence and your drive that keeps you going.
Yeah, it's like this false sense of confidence at the beginning, and then like a false sense of incompetence or something after I started getting. It's so funny. I mean, one of the things that saved me was I started, like you read interviews, and so many artists have that exact same phenomenon where they have this, and they suffer from imposter syndrome, and it's such a known thing now and talked about that so many people that I admire and deeply respect talk about the same phenomenon, and I'm like, well, that's comforting.
If you say imposter syndrome, all you've done is label insecurity. Mm-hmm. You're just talking about someone who's not quite sure of themselves, and that's true of everybody that accomplishes anything. You're always going to have self-doubt's all it is. Mm-hmm. So then everybody's going to have self-doubt. It's a question of how seriously you take that doubt, as whether it's a syndrome or not. But I think whenever you're up, you have to worry about how you got up, and that's just part of it. Mm-hmm. So
right.
And you are talking about something that's not quantifiable, because it's opinions of other people, and you can feel like I could do one thing badly. If I do one thing bad enough, I'm not going to be popular when I leave the stage. Mm-hmm. So it's a real issue for an artist to deal with that. Yeah. That's something that's part of being an artist. It's just like part of being a professional athlete. You have to go up and swing that bat, and you have to hit the ball. You just can't do commercials.
Right, right.
You got to go up there and hit the ball one more time.
Wonder what the version.
But the thing for you is that I see you're taking more batting practice than anybody I ever seen.
Right. I wonder what that would be for an athlete. It seems like the you're like batting, like you're either hitting it or you're not. So what's imposter
I'll
syndrome?
I'll tell you right now. You're Reggie Jackson, and he said it, and I don't say it about any of them. But Reggie Jackson, I'll tell you, he hit 60 home runs. I hit 100. But you know what? If he strikes out 4 times in a game, and the 5th time he comes up, he's worried. Mm-hmm. He's scared. He's afraid he can't hit the ball. You live in that moment of where you are at that time. So the things you felt about yourself when you were 21 don't have anything to do with how you feel about yourself the next year or two. Mm-hmm. Now, looking back for you now, you are part of that. You are part of that. It's all accumulated into who you are right now when you perform at night. But yeah, I can see where every artist, every athlete, every ball player goes through that. Mm-hmm. If you double fault one time, the next time you throw that ball up, you're not quite as sure.
Right.
And then it can just feed on itself. It unravels right in front of you.
Right.
No, imagine that I don't know. Oh, the Stockholm syndrome. That's if you're.
That is it.
Yeah. Imagine if you if you were in a band.
I've had that, by the way, and I've never been to Stockholm. I don't know how you can get into something like that, but I've had that before. It involved Cub Scouts, but then never mind.
Now imagine if you were in a band,
story.
and I know hundreds of bands like this. You put out a first album, it's great, everybody loves it,
right?
And then you can never live up to it. To me, that would be worse than doubting yourself at the beginning, but then you realize you're getting better and better. Not that these bands get any worse, but just that first album captures everybody's attention, and then you're like, God, we're doing this. What's happened? Why didn't anybody else buy our next
Well, it's the same with a
albums?
novelist writing that first novel is a great hit. It's hard to write another one.
That author we were talking about not too long ago had that story. When in his 20s, everyone was lauding him as the next voice of a generation, the young genius,
Fonte,
or whatever. And then he never could replicate it. And
it's just so hard to hold the public's attention. Mm-hmm. Even if your second, third, and fourth album is good, they've moved on to some other new artist or whatever.
Right. People are looking for something different.
Mm-hmm.
But man, that's got to be heartbreaking, though. You put out an album, you're like, I love this album. And like, we got to let you go. Sales aren't doing it. Like, why? It's as good as the first album.
It's so mystifying, too. It's like you can't help but wonder how you did it. Right. Why you can't do it anymore. I always feel like a one-hit wonder would be a great topic for a movie or something like that. Well, they struck gold and they wrote this song that everyone loves, right. And then they can't do it again, and it's just like,
you had your 15 minutes,
right?
Well, what I was thinking about you personally as an artist, where I see you now is really interesting because a lot of people you do that one hit, but you are not when you did that one hit, whoever it was, they were 20 years old, now they're 40, it's not going to be the same. It can't be the same. It doesn't have that youthful energy or that 16-year-old exuberance. Doesn't have enough acne on it. But, what happens is some artists, they mature, and as they get older, a Roy Clark or a Willie Nelson, for instance, they just meld into who they are as they go along, and that's what I see you doing. You're getting old gracefully, I think would be a good one way to say it.
Now we have a good question here. CDM Butterfly, how do you define success? I mean, do you consider yourself successful?
Is it really directed for me or for all?
Oh,
of
well,
us?
I don't want to answer it. So
How do you define? I want to know how you define success.
sitting here with you two on a weekly show.
My definition's changed a lot over the years.
Uh-huh.
Yesterday was a success because I saw a bluebird and I got sprayed with green slime by a 4-year-old. You can't have a better day than that.
Sprayed with green slime.
Yeah, it was
I'd like to hear a little
unbelievable.
more about that.
And she got the giggles every time she'd squeeze it, and it would go on my shirt, and she'd just start giggling and giggling. I thought she was going to giggle to death.
So she had like a slime squirter.
Yeah, somebody gave her one, and she was squirting things with it. And she saw me, and I think I was a good target. And I made funny sounds.
You are a good target. For,
Yeah, I've always
for
been a
green
good.
slime.
I've always been a good target for lots of slings and arrows.
Now, talking about success, he used a word that just cracked me up. I noticed he had some new shoes on, so I commented how I liked his shoes.
Yeah, those are nice.
And I said something about, "Huh, I like your shoes." And he said,
If Lex was here, we'd be zooming in on his shoes right
and
now.
so he said, well, I'm not wearing, I haven't heard this word for so long. He said, I'm not wearing those clodhoppers anymore. And I haven't heard the term clodhoppers in so long. I think success is where people don't call your shoes clodhoppers anymore.
I now have.
Even if they are. Even if they are.
I had clodhopper. Now I was telling him it's changed my life. We went out to Super Shoes and I got these Skechers, and it's just like being it's like tiptoeing
Oh,
through
you
the
went out to
tulips.
the store and got them.
Yeah, Heather took me.
Cool.
A friend took me, and we went to Tractor Supply and Super Shoes. It was almost too much, but then we went to Dairy Right.
Tractor Supply is so fun. Just
Tractor-
to pause for a second.
Yeah.
There's something
There's
so
all-
fun about that store.
Well, we did the bird feeder thing. I got
Oh,
all
good.
kinds of bird feeder stuff. But then I took her to Dairy Right.
Oh.
That was fun.
What'd you get? Foot-long hot dog with chili?
Oh no, I never did the.
You never
football.
did the foot-long?
I'm either the super burger or the barbecue,
Mm.
and often both.
What'd you do this time?
Super burger.
That's pretty good, huh?
Yep, hard to beat. It's still, and that's what I testify. They still have the same sauce. It's still the same super burger.
I got fired from there in high school.
That's what I heard. I told that story yesterday.
Now, just think how different that is. Like, as a performer, you've got to come up with a new thing all the time. Well, I guess restaurants do too, but Dairy Right has survived 60 years without ever changing anything, basically.
Well, in restaurants, consistency is the most important thing.
Well, I mean, I do agree with it. But like, you know, they always come up with something new to catch your eye, you know. But what new is Dairy Right come up with? They found a winner and just stuck with it.
Yeah,
That's success right there.
it's called quality. If you have a quality product, it works
Yeah.
because people like it and they use it and they come back and buy it again.
That's a funny thing with like music, because there's both the energy that you need to like outdo your previous work, which is a legit energy, but then there's also that energy of your fans just want you to do that thing for them that you do. Like, you know, if you, a lot of times you go see a musician that you love and their new stuff isn't necessarily what you want. You want to hear the songs you love done by them in person. And it's I guess, I don't
That
when you're young, it's completely different. That changes, I guess, as you get older or as you become a more nostalgic thing to people. That there's a lot interesting there. I was just thinking about the success thing. I feel like there's so many different versions of success. There's the success as a songwriter. There's the success of writing a song. That's the success that will always rejuvenate me and save me and keep me in where I want to be as an artist. Like, all I have to do is write a song that I like and I'm back. Full strength. Like, it restores me like nothing else. It feels like it heals me. Like, if I write a song, I'm bounding around the world. I'm just back. I'm back in my spirit. I'm back in my strength. and that's success that no one can ever mess with or
Right.
take from me. The only thing that can hurt me in that regard is when I'm going through writer's block, and I do get terrified because I feel like Reggie Jackson. I might never get the stick on the ball again. But but then in terms of live streaming or performing out in the world or business, I feel like a definition of success, which is sort of a sad definition of success, or it can be, but I feel like it's an appropriate definition of success in any business, is it's growing. Like I feel, and it's palpable. Like if you have a store and one person comes in one day, the next day 2 people come in, and
Right.
the next day 3 people come in, like that's success. It's
Right.
growing. You can feel it evolving and growing. And there's a point, and the reason that's sort of sad is it's almost like one of the fundamental flaws in capitalism, because everything has to keep expanding, and it gets to the point
Right.
where that expansion is destructive, and
Right.
and it does work. Like, you know, like when we started out as the amusement, we were busking on the sidewalk, and you know, and but then you start playing venues, then you get a manager, and it's growing, and then we had a sound guy, and then we had a light guy. So all this is growth, and then we have a bus driver, and like as it's growing, like that's it's also becoming way more work, way more responsibility. You got more people dependent on the entity.
Right.
Like, I always thought that was ironic, because you start out a lot of times as an artist as sort of like a rebellion against the way society works, and you just want to be able to provide for yourself and be a self-sustaining thing. Like and not have a boss, or not have
Right.
but then as you get successful and you grow, like it becomes more and more responsibility. All of a sudden you're sort of a servant to your dream,
Right.
and all the people that are now dependent on your dream continuing to grow so that they can pay for their presence within all of it. So there's a part of growth. I look at a lot of musicians now that were like really huge at one point, and now they're playing smaller. Like for them, they feel like a failure because the growth started happening and it actually restricted or whatever. But I always looked at that and thought, well, that. But at the same time, you could play anywhere in the world because of your name recognition, and a couple hundred people would come.
Right.
Like, that just seems like amazing. But to them, because they grew and then they reached the maximum growth, they just feel like a failure now because
Right.
it shrunk
That's
back
true.
down to size.
Now, so I mean, whenever like the Olympics come on, I always think about this. Like, there's some poor kid that's never been to college, dropped out of high school, running faster than anybody else can run. They're better, you know, just like it's the opportunity to get presented. But then also like with the band thing, and you don't have to go into your deepest, darkest fears if you don't want, but how about bands that just, you're playing, you're thinking, God, I'm as good as any other band. Why won't anybody pay attention to me? Like, that would just eat me alive. Like, I'm as good as Green Day, you know? Why do people aren't paying attention to me? You know, that would be like, I guess that drives you, but I guess after a while it could be like a bitter pill every time you go on stage. Like, oh, there's 30 people here, and I'm ready.
I definitely feel that way about Friends. We were listening to a Dear Friends record last night when we were making dinner, and the record is just so good that he should just be filling stadiums. He should be opening for some of the biggest acts.
Right.
Like, he did it. He did it. He made the great record. And there's always this feeling that you're going to make your masterpiece. When I paint my masterpiece, everything's going to be different.
Right.
And it's so sad to do it. It's to
Not be recognized.
to actually paint your masterpiece and nothing changes is you just gotta reckon with that.
Yeah, that'd be terrible.
It doesn't feel right,
If you
though.
really did something that you knew and you could listen to anything else, and you think this is just as good and better, but like you just don't have the team or the promotion or whatever to get it out there. It's like, God, you just like, Oh, that would be a horrible feeling.
And meanwhile, watching other people just
Yeah.
flying because
Talentless hack. You know?
well, it's a little heartbreaking because you do see a lot of people that money has bought their success. There's that trust fund kid or whatever, and their band is headlining the thing, and they all had money because they came from rich families, and it's hard not to get a little bitter. You're just like,
And I remember when the Strokes came out, and they were like these young kids, and everybody's so excited. Then you read about them, like the fathers are all like millionaires and stuff. It's like
Right.
these kids just didn't appear out of nowhere. They could go into the studio for a year and doodle around, and
You can do a lot with money. That's why there's so many artists are out there just trying to attract some money, like just an investor or whatever. There's a lot that money can do. I remember the Amusement played Albuquerque like once a week for 2 years, and slowly amassed this like strong crowd of like 60 people or something. And it took 2 years to do that. And then we got a manager who had a little bit of money, and he took all the money he had, and what he did was he paid to promote a band that was big at the time. They were called Leftover Salmon, but a couple thousand people would come see them. So he paid to have Leftover Salmon play, and then had his band, The Amusement, put it on the and double billed us. We weren't even small print below it because he put all of his money on the line and just double billed us. Leftover Salmon, The Amusement, equal size on the poster or whatever. And just that little investment, or big investment at the time for us, because we couldn't conceive of doing something like that. In one night,
wow,
we could play Albuquerque to a few hundred people just after that one night, just because of that $10,000 or whatever it cost.
Isn't that crazy?
But money can make things a lot easier. Then on the other hand, you get so much cool grit and aesthetic to your art when you're just like playing on the sidewalk and scraping by, and like all the songs I wrote about that. There's such great fodder for art or whatever, to have that struggle be a part of it.
Well, what you just described is the great struggle for Nashville. If anybody that knows Nashville knows that story of how,
Yes.
You know exactly what anybody that's been there knows. It's the idea of the old country, the whole outlaw group, Waylon and Willie and the boys and all those guys, they were fighting against that very thing we're talking about. The idea that you could buy popularity and just boil it down to nothing and then redistribute it in ways that make you money. And it's kind of, a lot of people say that's what's killed Nashville. Of course, a lot of people don't think Nashville's dead.
Right.
So there you go. But you see that all the time. And you're always, you've always been that person that didn't go along with that.
I didn't have a lot of choice.
Well, I don't know. I could have sold you.
I don't think I ever said no to like anything out of integrity. Like
that's just not me. Sorry, that's just not me.
I don't think I ever turned down an actual opportunity because of my ethics or anything like that.
I don't know. When you're talking about what music you wanted to do, you were going to do your own music.
It's true. I never tried to become something that would attract money or something.
Exactly.
Right.
The sewing girl just wrote in and said there's a song called "I Don't Want to Be a Lost Picasso."
I don't want to be a lost Picasso. On the other hand, I feel like for some reason I have a lot of respect for the establishment back in the day of the music industry is as fraught with terrible tales of greed and corruption as it is. I still feel like they did a remarkable job bringing my heroes to my ears. I don't feel I'm probably completely wrong about this, but I feel like there's still a point to be made that I don't feel like there were a bunch of Bob Dylans running around that we never heard about.
Right.
And maybe
That's a good point.
Maybe there are now. Like there's so many people, and like I don't know if that still is true, but all through the history of it, I feel like they did a pretty remarkable job of bringing my heroes to my ears, and that there's some mystical stuff at play there, and some of the people that were, I mean, because the record industry was legit out there looking for it. Even when I first came in, that paradigm still existed. You always felt like you're going to get discovered.
Yeah, some of those record label execs and talent scouts, they can list that they found Aretha Franklin, Bob
They were
Dylan.
out there.
They were like, they just had an ear and an eye for what was going to be.
And they knew like the hot venues where the
Right.
new music was
Right.
happening, and like there was that gravitas that musicians had, that like they saw each other like, oh,
Right.
that guy is like
Right,
amazing, and like and if he was amazing, he was going to play the venue, and if he was going to play the
Right.
venue, the A&R guy was going to be there. It was going to be like, oh, I want to
Right.
work with them.
Right.
And it was a pretty, they did a pretty amazing job for a long time. It's all gone now. It doesn't, I came into the scene right as that whole dream was starting to become this sort of modern mess that we all live in now. I can't even, I'm just so glad that there was a little bit of that still in the world.
Right.
Like that dream was still palpable. It really felt like, and it happened, you know, we did play our butts off, and we got our second like real legit or manager busking on the sidewalk in Austin, Texas. So, you know, that's all we were doing, is just trying to be everywhere so we would get discovered. Like it was the old dream.
Right.
That's the dream. And it was still sort of true. And I'm sure on some level it's still true today. I can't imagine being a young person out there in the world today trying to do the same dream.
I mean, this might be totally not even true, but just my image of the world back then and now, it was so. Back then, you could find an artist and nurture them over 2 or 3 albums. You know, like, oh, we know you got it. This one didn't hit, but we'll, you know. Nowadays, it seems like if it doesn't, you know, just, you know, there's 101 people like you out there. We got to find somebody else. There's
Right.
not that. I mean, you really have to have somebody that really cares about you and really like it's like, we love you, Nathan. This is going to be it. You know, I mean, that's just so. And that might not have been even the way it was in the old days, but it seems like you hear stories about, you know, like, you know, we're going to stick with you. And I was
so much different now.
I wrote something. I've just discovered. I've always known who Lauren Nero, whatever her name is, Niro is, and
I don't know that name.
but I didn't know her music, and I was listening to it. I just fell in love with it. It was like amazing. But then somebody
You got a
wrote,
beautiful voice.
yeah, but then somebody wrote on there and said, oh, she fucked up. The record label put all this money into her and stuff. And I don't even know what she did, but she did something. And, you know, they were just like, oh my God, you ruined your chances. I just
You don't know what that story is? How'd you hear?
She's really popular.
I used to have an album of hers.
Oh,
She's
wow.
a popular singer.
She does like a lot of cover songs with like totally her own versions that are just like crazy cool. I bought 3 of her CDs, like those remastered CDs. They were $250 each, and I've always read about her and heard about her. So I just $750, whatever. I got home, I was like, good God, it's worth, you know, all the money in the world to listen to this stuff.
What's the name again? Nero?
Yeah, NYR.
NYRO.
And also, back in the day, you had to go to the record store or listen to the radio. Nowadays, you're bombarded with choices, you know. It could be your favorite group. Oh, my God, I love Nathan's songs. Then the next day you hear something else. Oh, my God, it's my new favorite. In the old days, you weren't so flighty. Like, you know, like, I got to go find a Nathan Moore album, you know. Nowadays, you're like, all right, I downloaded it. Now tomorrow, let me get something else, you know. It's just like it's so easy to collect stuff now and get stuff.
Yeah, it's so true. Where would you get your records? The records that I was reared on was at the mall, or do you remember the music store?
I can't think of the name of it. Morgan Music.
Morgan Music.
Morgan Music
It
downtown.
was downtown.
right above Woolworths.
Above Woolworths.
Yeah,
Wow.
on the across from the bakery, which is not ever a bakery, but it's downtown. I don't know the street numbers, but it was right near where I had my teeth work done. So I would go straight from the dentist to
Do you remember
buy an album or a
particular
45.
person that ran the store or anything? Was there a
It was
character?
just an older gentleman that it was at Morgan, and he sold instruments or anything, but he had a records section.
It wasn't Alan Moyer. He was a record store guy when I was growing
He
up.
was,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where?
Record Corner.
Oh, wow.
yeah.
No, one of our favorite viewers did write in something that there's always been a patron of the arts, even of Mozart's. Like even those guys had to have somebody paying for them to eat all the time. And,
This is true. That's a good point.
Yeah. Patron.
that's right.
Yeah. It's a great
That's
word.
weird. Yeah, because Record Corner was downtown, and I think Alan worked at it when it was at the mall. You'd go out there and try to get something you'd think thought was cool, so he wouldn't laugh at you once you left.
The amusement was all about finding that patron there for years. I remember at one point, because we lived in Santa Fe, so you never knew. That was one thing that was fun about living in Santa Fe was you'd play at the clubs. You never knew when Kevin Costner was going to be out.
Right.
You never just, it's Santa Fe. It was
Right.
like the little hideaway from L.A. Like and at some point, this lady, I guess I could say her name, Judy Berger. She was like this music lawyer, and she represented like some big, like Joni Mitchell, like some big names, or whatever. And we were gonna play like her party or something like that.
Oh, wow.
And we were. Every time we'd say her name, we said it 3 times. We're like, Judy Berger, Judy Berger, Judy Berger. Just hoping she would just fall in love with us and change everything. Here we go, Judy Berger, Judy Berger, Judy Berger. We'd never say her name just once.
So did you play your party?
Nothing came from it.
Oh.
That might not even be true, because it might have been through that connection that we got another one. But there was always that. There was little errors that we had where like somebody with money would take us under their wing and try to produce a record or something. There was one time when they brought in Bob Dylan's keyboard player to play on a demo or whatever, because they were going to take it to LA, like all those little
Now, did you
exciting
trust
stories.
people when they come up to you, or did you have did you sort of be like, what do they want from us?
I guess it's a little of both. You're just so excited for any opportunity at that point. But I remember the one person with money, like they paid for these demos and didn't really like what they were hearing and decided we needed to do Monday, da 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 da, so good to me. And yes, that's when it all started falling apart.
I remember I was at a bar in Richmond one time with my nephew. He's 30 years younger than me, really good looking dude. And we were just sitting there drinking, and this older sort of wore out looking old lady was sitting there at the end of the bar looking at us. And I was like, man, she's checking you out the whole time. He's like, man, I'm not even looking over there. So she came over, she was like a modeling agent or something. And she gave him this card and said, give me a call. And I was like so excited. He goes, man, I don't trust people like that. Just threw the card down. I was like, man, if I was 20 years old, somebody gave me a modeling card, I'd have been calling her before she was out the door. This is Kyle. I can still see you. I'm still sitting here, you know. And he was like, but I was like, I guess, because you do have to watch out for people just trying to take advantage of you, I guess. Like, sign this contract. No, you don't need to read it. Just, sign it, Guys, I hate to tell you, but I signed this contract and we don't get anything. We have to perform Monday on the Dick Clark show.
You brought a couple of books, didn't you?
I finished
He gave me the
I finished that
Musicophilia.
scary book he gave me about the people that hear music in their head
When
all
you were
the
walking
time.
up, I was like, all right, Dad's got a whole lesson plan for us.
No. But I brought this because I could look and see some of the things I've been thinking about lately, because I'm having trouble remembering what I think about lately. But I was just going to flip through if we got stuck. Here's one. I've been thinking a lot about words lately. What do you think of the word fondly?
Fondly?
Fondly.
Like I think of you fondly.
Yeah, I was thinking about writing that to someone and saying, when I think of you, I always think of you fondly. And then I thought, what a wimpy ass word.
Not enough.
It's not. I mean, if you're going to be,
But it's sweet. It is sweet.
but it's. But then I started thinking about fond, and then I got into fondling,
Right.
and then I was thinking about, you know, if you're talking about, and I don't know, should we say it's not, this might be R-rated, but if we're talking about breasts, in which we weren't, but now you are,
Then it's
fondle, you don't fondle breast.
right.
I think that's just terrible, and I'm not fond of you. I don't like fond. There's something wrong with the word fond. Because it doesn't sound good to be fond of someone. I mean, I either love you or I like you, but if I'm fond of you, that's not right. There's just something really wrong about
Let's
being.
get the Webster definition real quick so we can really drill down here for a second.
Well, I know the definition and I like the definition. I don't like the word. It doesn't sound right.
Mm-hmm.
And fondle is even worse. I mean, what would you be proud of fondling? Maybe of breasts.
We don't want to give our answers. We're going to keep those to ourselves.
Yeah, maybe you should not tell me that. If you don't want to learn, have to go home and worry about your reputation.
I was telling him on the ride over here about a funny term that was used to me today. But yesterday, this is so sad. A guy I work with, his mother died, and a lot of people at work went to the funeral, and the funeral was in Franklin, West Virginia. And I emailed a person at work. I knew they weren't there, and I got there out of office, said Franklin for funeral. And I was like, that's the most dirtiest sounding thing I've ever heard. Like, what are you going to do tonight? I'm going out Franklin for funeral. It sounds like you're chasing women or something. Just like, man, I'm going out Franklin for funeral tonight, you know?
Don't get near him. He's Franklin for funeral.
Man, that dude over there's been Franklin for funeral all night since he walked in here. I've always thought fondly of him. Well, you don't need to think fondly of him anymore.
Well, there you go.
Having a strong preference or attachment to someone or something. Fond.
Yeah.
I do have to
Just
say,
didn't say it.
So how is fondling tied into that?
it's
messing with
dictionary word origins. It's got to be related in some way.
That's what
right?
I was wondering. But no, it just went from fond to fondle. It was in my head. There were no.
What's a foundling? Isn't that like a little duck or something? What's
Well,
a
that's got a
foundling?
U in it. That changes it completely.
Changes everything.
What is that, though?
Fond and found are just not even in the same world.
I got to say, one of my favorite things in cooking is when you cook a piece of meat in a hot pan, and then you take the meat out, and there's all those bits stuck to the pan, and you pour some red wine or some broth and scrape it up to make a sauce to go with the dish. The stuff that's in the bottom of the pan that is stuck to it is called the fond.
I have never heard that
I've
before.
never either.
You think
I
that's?
think it has an E on it at that point.
I bet it's French.
It's French, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think fondling and fondle are French.
Right.
They're old, or maybe they're Old English or something. But
What is the origin of the word fond? The word fond originates from the Middle English word fond, which meant foolish or infatuated.
see,
Man, we got all
that's
kinds of
where we
stuff.
come in, because I've been dealing with fools for a long time. Last week I wanted to talk about fool.
Right.
And
Oh, look at that.
Or did we?
we did.
might have.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. Yep.
fool, fondle. I'm on a pattern. You can see.
You're on a foolish kick.
Yes. You're right about that.
Well, isn't Percy, isn't that you? Who's Percy?
Oh, he's the Discord bot.
Oh, because they just gave us the definition for find. It's like
Yeah, it was
it's
a
like 1,000
autocorrect
things in
mistake.
here.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Now,
I feel better.
Abe Robertson Gordon sounds like a very thoughtful young man. He wants to know, what about authenticity? Like, you're doing what you truly believe in. How much does that, like, what if you're not successful, but when you go to bed at night, you think, I did the best I could and I believe 100% in what I did? Or would you trade 10% of that to be famous?
To be famous. Ask Dad that one.
Ask me what?
Like,
You'll have to rephrase it.
well, I'm adding a bunch of stuff, but this Abe Robertson Gordon said, what about authenticity? Would you rather go to bed at night like knowing you gave 100%, it's all you, or would you trade like a little bit of that to make some money and pad your bank account?
Well, I think,
Like if Nathan had done a cover of Monday that made him $1 million, would he still regret it?
well, the authenticity would be in the performance, not in the production of the song itself. But he takes his pride on the song itself. So,
Right. So he prefers authenticity to.
But his,
Well, maybe he
his
doesn't.
authenticity deals with how his songwriting, whereas another artist's authenticity might be their presentation.
You don't
or
even need to be here
the
while we
voice.
discuss you. You can go upstairs and scrape some
nice.
fond out of a pot while we discuss you.
You know, one thing that's interesting is that I'm surprised that people don't cover your songs more. And I think part of that is that the way that the song is written, it sounds better when you sing it, if you know what I mean. It's like they're designed for you to sing, and I don't know.
That is a weird thing.
I always
think
thought-
that's sort of true.
You know, some of your words are just magnificent, and you would think they'd be in a popular song by somebody, but people don't touch it.
Well, that's a weird way that ties into authenticity too. Like I've got performers that really aren't the best singers or the best performers, but it's just them. It's
Right.
so 100% them. Nobody with 100 times more talent could do better than what they did, because that's just when you hear them do it. I sort of feel that way with you. Not that people shouldn't cover your songs, but when I'm sitting here and you're singing, I'm like, God, it's like he's just stood up and said, "This is me." You know, it's like it's the 100% authenticity that makes it, you know, so
Well, and
beautiful and
authenticity is an
wonderful.
interesting term, because, you know, there are some performers that are, their authenticity is not in songwriting. They don't even write a song.
Right.
They've never written a song, but their authenticity is in the way their voice or their presentation.
They can
or,
tell the story of the song
Right.
like nobody
yeah,
else.
exactly. And of course,
Billie Holiday.
yeah,
She was not a songwriter, but not a more authentic voice you're ever going to hear.
yeah. Well, you can go down the list with even some of the old, you know, like Perry Como or somebody like that. Who was one that just died that I never thought would ever die? Tony Bennett. I mean, he was the same the whole way, but there was nobody else being Tony Bennett.
Right.
That was authenticity
You know,
right there.
for hundreds and hundreds of years, it was two completely different professions: a songwriter and a singer.
True.
And they were sympathetic, or what's it called when symbiotic. They needed each other to exist, and it was a fun little rapport for hundreds of years. It wasn't until like the 60s or something.
Yeah.
But maybe Woody Guthrie, but not, you know, like, but the 60s, the singer-songwriter became this whole thing.
The folk singer started. right?
Yes, and then it sort
But I
of
don't
became a
know. I
whole
don't
thing.
know. How about the jazz? They had their own individuals even then. You know.
But it was a lot of jazz was everybody was playing the same. It was your interpretation of the
Right.
standard that made you stick
Right.
out. It was what voice do you bring to this same piece of music that we're all doing now? It's like, oh, have you heard their version? Even singers were like that for a long time. It was whose version of that song is the best or something.
Yeah, but
Fun.
all those versions to be authentic.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
not that the first person ever did it is like, I'm the king of this song and I'm all, if you bring
Right.
your spirit and soul to it, that's all. But this might be
I
something.
feel like it, like because I was born after the tradition of singer-songwriter was formed, it sort of led to that phenomenon that you were describing of as a singer-songwriter. If I was the old school songwriter, I would be spending my days trying to write songs that singers loved.
Right.
And that would be like the whole intent behind my skill set developing, whereas I spent all my time trying to write songs for me to sing, and my personality, my story, my character, what like stuff that fit me or something. So it's almost like a completely different skill set.
Right.
If I had been alive, a songwriter, when singers sang the songs and songwriters wrote the songs, I would have a whole different way of writing songs.
Well, it's like some of those old, not that they're old, but like Carole King or Neil Sedaka and stuff, they were like wonderful songwriters, but then when they actually performed themselves, people were like, good grief, you could actually sing and do all this stuff
Right,
yourself.
it was shocking.
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness. Because Carole King wrote a lot of hits for a lot of people. She was famous for that. But yeah, you're right.
No, I'm not sure what this comment means, but wagon wheel, does that mean something to you?
Wagon wheel is there's this, you'll see a lot of bars that have either open mics or picking sessions, and they'll have a sign up that says no wagon wheel, because there's these certain songs that everybody does and people get sick of it.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, like Brown Eyed Girl. The one of the classics, you probably know this joke. Freebird!
Oh, yeah.
Everybody knows the Freebird joke. And without fail, someone has to yell it out everywhere you play. Someone's going to yell out Freebird. Just because it's a joke inside a joke.
I always hope that person gets hit by a bus when they go outside, though. It's always so annoying. We used to go see, like, punk rock shows, and somebody would be in the back, Freebird! Like, oh, my God, go away. Someone hit him with
It's
a
like,
wagon
why don't
wheel.
you just raise your hand and say, I'm a nerd? Why did you have to say that?
But the irony is that they...
So that's a term? The wagon wheel means don't come in here just playing a bunch of stuff everybody
It's
knows?
a song, Wagon Wheel.
It is a
right?
song called Wagon
Oh,
Wheel.
okay.
And...
By Bob
How does that
Wills
go?
or who?
it was lyrics written by Bob Dylan that then were discovered by Old Crow Medicine Show, and they took these old lyrics, they added a new chorus to it or something, or a couple of verses, and put it out, and then it just skyrocketed, and then
When is this
everybody
from?
at every campfire started doing Wagon Wheel, and to this day, as much as like musicians hate it or whatever, like, oh God, because there's always some drunk person, play Wagon Wheel. Come on, play Wagon Wheel. But then when you do play Wagon Wheel, the energy of the whole place just, you could levitate.
This band's authentic! Oh!
You could levitate a small building playing Wagon Wheel.
I don't even know this
It
song.
does work. Like these songs that get this reputation, they get that reputation for a reason.
When is it from? Like the 90s?
Because somebody goes to a bar, they hear the band play Wagon Wheel, everybody's singing along, they want to experience that again and again, so the next time they're at a place where people are playing, they're like, play Wagon Wheel. And then next thing you know, there's signs up in, like, probably every bar in Nashville has a no wagon wheel policy.
That's funny.
Angel from Montgomery is another one of those.
Right.
I'm gonna yell that out next show I go to. Whatever you do, don't play wagon wheel. I'm walk out of here.
But the cruel irony is that it's always much to the musician's chagrin that it does still work every time. You bust out Wagon Wheel, the whole energy of the whole room is about to kick up a notch.
Can you play any of? I can't remember how it goes.
It's like
I don't think I've ever heard it.
let me do it quick.
Well, nobody's watching.
Wagon Wheel lyrics.
It's an old Bob Dylan song, you said?
Sort of. Rock me, mama, like a wagon wheel. Rock me, mama, any way you feel.
Oh, this is what Darius Rucker did?
Hey, mama, rock me.
Oh, I know this, yeah.
Rock me, mama, like the wind and rain. Rock me, mama, like a southbound train. Hey, mama, rock me. See, he knows everybody knows the words.
It's so funny. I didn't even. My ex-wife fell in love with that black guy, Darius Rucker, was doing some country albums, and that was one of the songs he did. And we actually went and saw him, and she was like standing up in the crowd, like singing. We went out some outdoor thing. I was like, "What is this?"
It was probably the highlight of the set.
Yeah, everybody was like,
everybody knows the words. Everybody's singing along. I mean, you see, like you start playing that song, and people just start coming out of the woodwork, just like, how? Where? I didn't even know there was this many people here, and everybody's like, arm in arm, and it's just ridiculous.
People came out of the kitchen and they're all with their aprons on and they're all hugging.
And like for someone like me, 53 years old, spent his whole life writing songs and stuff or whatever, and I make a mistake of singing Wagon Wheel one night, and then it's like the magic tricks or something. It's like that's all anybody wants from me anymore. Like, oh man, do that Wagon Wheel.
No,
do that Wagon Wheel. Really, you're gonna do that? It's
now,
it's a whole thing.
What would have happened back in the heyday of marinas if you had gone in and done Wagon Wheel? Would they've appreciated it, or they've been like, Nathan's hit it on time low?
The place would levitate off the ground.
Oh, so they would have liked it.
I'd be a hero. They'd thank me for my service.
Is that Darius?
I would be drinking for free the whole rest of the night.
God, that is so. I had no history.
I might have gotten a patron.
I didn't. I had no knowledge of that because my wife just fell in love with that song.
And
Darius Rucker.
Well, it's Old Crow Medicine Show that first did it, based on discovered Bob Dylan lyrics that were never. It was never a popular Bob Dylan song, but they added a verse or something, came out with that track.
Have you heard that album where those people like Elvis Costello and all those people went in and did old unrecorded Dylan songs?
I don't know.
It's like a halfway decent album, not one of my.
I remember when Billy Bragg and Wilco did that with Woody Guthrie lyrics.
Oh, that was a really good,
great record.
Yeah,
still that
really good.
California Skies, such a vibe.
That's crazy.
I do a song from that record every now and again called "Way Over Yonder" in a minor key.
Man, they did two of them, didn't they? I think they did two albums.
I'm not sure if there's
a
lot of rumors that there was a lot of bad blood from those sessions.
Oh, really?
They didn't just hit it off.
Right. Billy Bragg seems like he might be hard to get along with for some reason.
Very opinionated.
I'm not doing Wagon Wheel. Come on, Billy. We can get on the radio.
I will not do it.
I've got authenticity and integrity. How about Monday then? Oh, I love that song. Monday. All right, people. Guys, 8:20.
Yeah, we've already done it. We're just coasting.
Is it? This is a good. God, this is a very good question. Man,
you're doing a great job with the chat.
Our man Abe Robertson Gordon is like, man, he's like hitting it. Is it insulting when someone requests a cover song when you're performing?
It's not fun. Insulting is a little much because they obviously are a stranger.
Ooh, okay.
It's hard to be insulted by somebody that doesn't know you at all. If you, or at least it doesn't cut very deep.
But do you wish that they would just be quiet and let you do your own stuff? I mean, not in a mean way, but like,
Right.
you know, I'm doing my stuff, you know, come back to the hotel room and I'll sing your wagon wheel, you know.
Play one we can dance to.
Play what my boyfriend likes. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, because, you know, there's you as the artist, and then there's you as the entertainment for the people that are there or whatever. And sometimes, you know, if they don't know you, never heard of you, all you are is somebody singing songs in a
Right.
corner, they can start treating you in a way that feels like they're just sticking quarters in a jukebox or something.
Well, if they don't know you, they might not even know those are all your songs.
Right, they
just
probably
the covers
don't.
they don't
Just
never
songs
heard
they,
before. Right?
yeah, and they're like, why is he playing all these? Play one I know.
Wow. Man, I think our friend Abe deserves, or what is his name? Yeah, I think Abe deserves one of Lex's T-shirts too.
Well, we'll tell Lex to send you a T-shirt.
Abe, if you get a package from Lex Park, you know who that's the T-shirt from his daughter's graduation, class of 2024.
How's your week been since you're doing so well? Last time I saw you, have you had a good week?
I have had a good week. Yeah, my stomach's been behaving and been taking care of myself. I've walked every day, and yeah, I've had a good week.
He said those new shoes have helped him. What, get 4,000 steps or whatever? What was it?
Yeah,
Those do look comfy.
That's what I
they're
said.
wonderful.
And they're good looking.
Yeah, they don't look like they belong on my feet, but I'll take it. But yeah, they're a lot better than them clodhoppers I had on earlier.
God, I can't. I wish I could remember the last time I heard the term clodhoppers.
And when you say clodhopper about 5 times, you start thinking about Red Skelton.
Oh yeah, we don't.
Yeah, well, you should.
What, did he say that?
No, but he had a character. Remember?
No.
Clem Cadiddlehopper.
Wow.
I was afraid.
Wait a minute,
I was afraid
Yeah,
to say it because I was afraid this was going to happen.
What is it?
I'm going to say it again, and you're going to double over and roll on the floor, because I'm going to say Clem Cadiddlehopper. Can you say it 3 times? No, you can't say it 3 times.
Well, I mean,
Say it.
I want to know more about,
Clem Cadiddlehopper.
because Red Skeleton.
Clem?
I mean, I think.
Clem. C-L-E-M. Good old
Boy,
Clem.
you don't get kids named Clem these days.
Well, you do if their last name's Cadiddlehopper.
Long line.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
Now, what was he? He was like just like on the Dean Martin show and stuff. Wasn't he? Was he a movie star or a
Red
comedian?
Skelton.
What was he?
Red Skelton was a comedian, and he was a stand-up comedian.
Like he'd be on
and
Ed
he was
Sullivan
a
or
slapstick.
something?
He had his
Before
own
that,
show.
right? He was
Yeah.
a radio guy, right?
Yeah, he
had a
did
TV
radio,
show?
and he had his own TV show, and he'd come out every week and he'd do these characters, and he had one. He'd do his hair out. And put
That's
the,
how I remember him.
Yeah. But that was Clem Cadiddlehopper, was that guy. He always had a drunk guy he played. And I don't think that was Clem. Clem just was the redneck boy, you know, boy from the Hicks. lived up the block from me. Every neighborhood had a Clem Cadiddlehopper.
Play something by Clem Cadiddlehopper. I'm going to yell out of the next show. I guess.
Exactly.
You can't go wrong with that. Shouting that. No one's going to put up a sign against that.
Till you go into a bar after I've yelled it 100 times. No more shouting for Clem Cadiddlehopper, or whatever his name is. Wagon wheel will do. That's fine. But we're not doing any more damn Clem Cadiddlehopper.
It's a great name.
Mm-hmm. You know, one thing I was thinking about earlier today, just because this is episode 66, which of course made me think of
Route 66.
Get Your Kicks on Route 66.
George Maharis and Todd Milner.
Oh, good. Look
Good
at that.
grief, you got a good
Jeez.
memory. God. He walks around and act like he doesn't know nothing, and all of a sudden he'll just burst out like a fact for you.
They were the songwriters?
No, they were the two actors that played on
there
Route
was a
66.
show.
TV show, yeah.
The dark-haired guy was
wow.
George Maharis.
I forgot about it being a
man.
show.
You have
And
a
the
good
young
memory.
guy,
Who sang the theme song to that? Do you know?
I don't know.
Jack
I
Webb.
don't. Get your kicks on Route 66.
66.
Joe Kicks.
But then that sent me down the rabbit hole,
66.
just remembering, because, we moved to New Mexico, and I remember like the first time we saw a sign that said Route 66. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's real. Like it's a
Yeah.
whole thing. And there's so many moments of that in my life, of my traveling, where I would come upon places that I had only heard about in songs. And it's such a great moment, because you're just like, oh my God. Like Tonopah. I remember when I first saw a sign for Tonopah. There's an old Little Feat song called Willin'. It's like, I've been from Tucson to Tucumcari. And it was so funny, because Tehachapi to Tonopah. I never knew what he said. I had no idea what those lyrics were. Every time I would sing along the song, I would just like mouth it. Tehachapi to Tonopah. Like, I have no idea what I'm saying right now, but it sounds about right. And then we're like driving through California. I see this sign that says Tonopah.
Oh,
Like
wow.
50 miles. I'm like, oh my God, it's
It
there.
all
It is.
comes together.
There it is. Tonopah.
Wow.
That's cool.
Well,
All right, people, we're getting ready to wrap up,
we
but
did it again, folks.
tomorrow night, remember, 8:30. Now I'm trying to read and talk. You better promote it while I read these
No, you're
last
doing
questions.
good. You're doing great.
Oh, let's see.
8:30.
8:30 at my
At a pick
house.
or a campfire to
Come
request a
on-
cover.
come
I
on
feel like
by.
that's. Oh, here's somebody who you know who Beans is.
Oh, yeah.
Beans says it's totally different though at a pick or a campfire to request a cover. I feel like that's a more group singing, encouraging type of thing.
Well, that's so true. That's the beauty of a good cover, is that it includes everybody. Everybody's heard it, and everybody can sing along, and all the musicians know it and everything.
that's
And it's
true.
not about you. You're just sort of serving the festivities of it all.
That's a good point. Way to go, Beans.
Whereas if you're doing a show and you're by yourself and you're pouring your heart out and wearing it on your sleeve, and then somebody wants some wagon wheel or something, you're a little not insulted, just a little deflated.
You know any Coldplay?
You're like a football in a Patriots football game. A little deflated. Sorry. My attempt at sports humor.
Sports references, come on now. Tom Brady gets roasted, all of a sudden Nathan's doing sports. All right, so 8:30 tomorrow night.
8:30 tomorrow night on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch, in the Discord server. Host a watch party,
Yeah.
and call up a friend from far away and say, hey, meet me on this online porch at 8:30 tomorrow
Now,
night.
can we see each other if you're set up that way, or we just see you?
No, but you
can see you.
could be
Talk to each
chatting
other.
with each
Right.
other, and if you're in Discord, you could have, I don't know, it'll evolve over time, because there are ways that you could see each other in Discord, but I doubt that will be happening. But
Hey, remember, if you know where he lives, you're invited over. Otherwise, mind your own damn business.
I never thought Bethlehem was a real place. I just thought that was where my Lord was born. Not till that day, and I still think it's a disgrace. The tanks rolled in to Bethlehem. The tanks rolled in to Bethlehem. We pulled into Seattle Run. We pulled into Seattle fly. I shook off the news and played like a child the day the tanks rolled in to Bethlehem. The tanks rolled in to Bethlehem. We sang songs, played all night. We were dancing on the sidewalk come the morning light. If it was up to us, everything would have been all right. The day the tanks rolled in to Bethlehem. The tanks rolled in Bethlehem. Right where little baby Jesus lay, where the cattle were lowing and the wise men came. A little boy was shot and died, I don't know his name. The day the tanks rolled in to Bethlehem. Tanks rolled in to Bethlehem. Oh, the tanks rolled in to Bethlehem.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you all so much. Until next time. Keep up the good work out
Till tomorrow.
there. See you tomorrow night, I hope.
Yeah.
Miss you, Lex.
Man, we had some good questions.
Great job with the chats. you did it.
Man, we did have some good questions, though.
Is it over?
I gotta go cut it off, but we're pretty much clear.
Man, I feel like we did like one topic the whole night. Is that our first time?
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Man, we're starting to become an intellectual.
I
show
tried
here
to
now.
finally get you out of there.
He tried fondly.